sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand.
Who brought the sauce?
I brought the sauce.
Who made the sauce?
I made the sauce.
What's in the sauce?
I am the sauce.
Who brought the sauce? Okay.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Prescription products require completion of an online consultation with an independent healthcare provider and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Additional restrictions apply. See website for more details and safety information. Should Viagra really cost $90 per pill? We don't think so. RexMD has FDA-approved generic Viagra medication of that little blue pill starting at just $2. Why pay huge pharmacy prices when you can get the same result for a fraction of the cost? Give your bank account a break. Just fill out a brief survey, and if appropriate, you'll get a starter pack prescription of industry-leading generic Viagra medication. Just call 800-734-8237. We've helped over 100,000 men with their sex lives, and with getting prescription medications direct. Your consultation is free, there's no doctor office visits, and your shipping is always free. Get your starter pack now. Call 800-734-8237. That's 800-734-8237. Again, 800-734-8237.
Howdy, y'all. I'm hearing a lot of squabbling over who has the best chicken sandwich, but as a restaurant with chicken in our name, we let our sandwiches do the talking. The Kfc Chicken Sandwich has a huge, breaded, and extra crispy 100% white meat chicken filet, thick crinkle-cut pickles, and real mayo in classic or spicy, stacked on a toasted, buttery brioche bun for only $3.99. So what are you waiting for? Order the KFC Sandwich on the KFC app today. At participating locations only, prices may vary, tax extra.
I got my daughters the cutest Sotox for under $18, JanSport backpacks for 25% off, and 30% off Levi's jeans for me. I even saved an extra 15% and picked up full cash. So, yeah, not sure who's more excited right now, me or the girls. Select styles, 50% off rent August 15th. Levi's coupons still apply. Limits apply. See store for details.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton at Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and all the Olympic Committee. I really want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. If you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce myself as the Sports Universe. And I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon and Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. It's better to have a smart TV. You'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing, but I will never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. And all you got to do is pick up the phone. If you know any veteran going through anything, don't think they can do it on their own. Don't think that your little call doesn't help. It always helps. That's why we love giving out our Veterans Crisis Hotline. Pick up the phone, make that call. You got to tell them that Big C Center is 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. You can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Also very happy to be affiliated with Valley Home Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the first place San Francisco Giants. And they say, hey kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds, when you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country, helping to put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it, car dealerships doing it. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to BigCSports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. When you need a loan, don't just be sure, be Rocket sure. Also, I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say it. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. Also, this segment sponsored by Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% on your game. It goes great with the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. We have a special guest coming up after we take the Big C pause. I'm going to leave you hanging, in the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports all around the world on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow as long as you rise and shine. I'm very honored. You know, sometimes when God says, let there be light, sometimes God brings people into your life. And there are some times when people have so much knowledge. And oftentimes, if they're African American, that knowledge is hidden because sometimes the schools won't tell you who it is. But I'm very honored to have on Big C Sports today. His name is, I'm going to call him Mr. Clyde Jones. Good friend of mine. It's about black history and world history. When you listen to the man, you'll see he's very edified. Clyde Jones, an MBA, engineering degree, Berkeley, Baseball Hall of Fame, National Roy Hobbs Men's Baseball, National, and Omega Fraternity. Omega's produced the first black astronaut. Omega's produced the first graduate from Tuskegee and Omega, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jesse Jackson, as well as other well-known Omegas. The Omegas wrote, think about this, the Omegas wrote the first affirmative action plan for the Pacific Fleet. That's Clyde. Clyde Jones did that. He's coming on to our program. I want to also finish edifying you, Clyde. Clyde and Omega wrote the first affirmative action plan for the Pacific Fleet in 1972. The Pentagon ranked Mr. Jones in the top percent of officers from 1971 to 1975. He played at Central Missouri State. He was the first African-American pitcher. He's also the first black person in the engineering field at Shell Oil Company, Wood River, Illinois. Chapter president 4 years at Travis Air Force Base in Northern California. Our National Tuskegee Foundation gives out 40 scholarships per year in the Los Angeles chapter. His goal is to empower black professionals advanced in the system in the United States. In Fairfield, California, helped build St. Stephen's Church in the United States. Going back to the constitutional law, you can look at things about Wikipedia and the Sarah Law, and what 209 countries are trying to do as far as the Paris Agreement. Claude is a walking encyclopedia. Claude, I would edify you more, but I only have an hour show. How you doing, young man?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. Life is good. You know, God is good. So I just try to take the experiences I have and pass them on.
Yeah. Well, you and I met several moons ago, going back almost a decade. You're one of the smartest men that I've ever met, integrity-wise. But tell us, I mean, I edified you myself, but you could probably tell your name better than I can, Clyde. So I may have missed one or two things along the way. So in the word of the pantheon of knowledge and experience in history, talk a little bit about yourself, your background, and then what you're doing also. You're still playing baseball. I hear you have a 99 miles per hour fastball. I don't know if that's true or not, Clyde.
No. My top speed now at 73 is only about 70 miles an hour.
Okay. Well, that's not bad. 73 years old.
Yeah, I was in the military during the Vietnam campaign and was appointed by the Pentagon to do race relations at different cities, and from that they asked me to write the affirmative action plan because they didn't know what one would look like, and so I wrote the affirmative action plan.
Wow.
And was involved with the affirmative action plan with Merck and Company, with Pacific Pump Company in Oakland, because the guy that wrote it before me, when I started there as a human resources professional, he wrote it, and it was used by the Pentagon and by the government. And then I came in, and all I did was revised it and upgraded it, and it's still being used as an affirmative action plan. How you do it, what you do by Washington D.C.
Okay. Well, there's a Harley Davidson running around. It sounds like Top Gun Air Force running around. But I want to ask you, Clyde, also, if you can talk about the Omega Fraternity. There's a lot of African Americans that are part of that national fraternity. I mentioned earlier guys like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, also Reverend Jesse Jackson, one of the greatest civil rights activists in the history of the universe. Tell us about your affiliation with the Omega Fraternity, Clyde.
Yeah, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity has been around since 1911. It was one of the 4 black institutions that started during that time. And I've been involved since we were the first chapter. I was the Sigma chapter there at Central Missouri State when I first started. I was a junior.
Okay.
And then most guys start when they're junior or senior. But the brotherhood, learning the brotherhood was just pretty good, because like you had to learn poems and all this other kind of stuff. For example, if my brother didn't know the poem, I say, well, I'll do the verses for my brother.
Right.
And so you learn how to help your brother out, you know. And when he messed up and he had to take 3 paddle licks, you say, I'll take 1 lick for my brother.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know.
I am my brother's keeper. I am my brother's keeper. That's true,
But
Clyde.
it was a really good experience being in the fraternity, and the chapter that I belong to now is in Vallejo. It's the graduate chapter.
Okay. Well, Clyde, let me ask you a couple of questions, because as we talked about some of the other great members of the Omegas, when you think about, and people may not think about this too much, the first African-American astronaut, he's also a part of the Omegas, Clyde. Talk about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, the first black pilot back in the 40s for the Tuskegee Airmen and the first black pilot in the United States, was from the Tuskegee experience program that they had down at Tuskegee University.
Yes.
And it's just interesting that a lot of the Omega brothers were the leaders, mostly leaders in academics and leaders in sports.
Yeah.
And leaders in their community. And so like Lou Alcindor, Jesse Jackson, and all of these different guys have been leaders in their community and in their church.
Isn't that amazing? And oftentimes today, I think our society has pivoted on who's bigger, stronger, and faster. But you have so many things that I wanted to get out to the audience. Today's show is Big C Sports Podcast, heard all over the world. Followed on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can follow on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps that you can follow on Big C Sports. I'm talking to the great Mr. Clyde Jones, MBA Engineering with Berkeley. Also, if you can just go into how the Omegas, part of the Omega is writing the first affirmative action plan for the Pacific Fleet in 1972. You're not going to hear this on any other sports program because they're still stuck on, oh my God, look at how big, strong, and fast you are. Talk about the first Omega, the Omegas that you're part of, wrote the first affirmative action plan of the Pacific Fleet in 1972, and he happens to be on Big C Sports Podcast. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the Pentagon trained me, and I was on a ship, LST 1184, brand new ship out of San Diego. And after they sent me to legal school, so I became a legal officer, and so I was a weapons officer. They trained me that, and they trained me for how to run those ships.
Wow.
And in the engineering department. So I was in charge of all the guns, and I was in charge of the jail. So if you didn't act right, I put you in jail. That never happened. But they just came to me one day, and we were in the dry dock, and because of my engineering background at Shell Company and Shell Oil Company during the summers when I was going to college, they had me to be in charge of the project manager for the multi-million-dollar project, because I was in charge of a $3 million budget every year, and I had 125 people working up under me, and here I was, only 22, 23 years old.
Wow. Intelligent black man, as we know, all life.
And then when I got out of the military, what happened was I got like 13 job offers.
Okay.
All over the country, and I settled with the Shell Oil Company because they picked me up in a helicopter, and they picked me up, had limos waiting for me and all this stuff. I said, wow, this is good. I got to stay here, Berkeley.
That's not a bad gig to pick up Clyde as a young man. Also, we talk about sports, we talk about everything that goes on in life. And when I think about played baseball at Central Missouri State, you were the first black pitcher also, Clyde. Talk about that experience.
Yeah, there were just 3 brothers on the team, but when I went and tried out, I made the team. But before that, I was playing in the old defunct Negro League from age 15 when I was an All-Star up till I went to college, and for 7 years.
Yes.
And what happened was I was averaging 10 to 12 strikeouts a game.
Yeah.
But when I came to the college level, I couldn't get 12 strikeouts, but I could still get 10 strikeouts a game.
Yeah.
But we didn't have any other black pitchers, and I wanted to pitch, and they said, okay, you can pitch.
Yeah. So the first black pitcher at Central Missouri State, also appearing on the Espy Award nominated Big C Sports podcast, nominated by Disney Corporation. I really appreciate that, Clyde. So as athletes, also you have your engineering degree. You've been a part of the Pacific Fleet, writing the first affirmative action plan. As a black man, we know all life began on the African continent, according to Dr. Leakey and Gregor Mendel. But unfortunately, too many shows, they'll take a talented black man like Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they refer to it as freaks. And they refer to it as, he runs like a deer, or he jumps like a kangaroo. But you're too erudite to let someone label you that. Can you give me your thoughts as you played in the Negro League? When did that start?
One thing about the Omega brothers and stuff, everybody's related to, have grown up or related to Christian values.
Yes.
And related to helping others.
Yeah.
And related to helping your brother.
Yeah.
And that's the whole attitude that I joined in, because I was a Sunday school teacher when I was 11 years old. So
yeah.
All the guys in the group, they were in the Sunday school, and they wouldn't listen to the teacher, and the teacher ran out, said they too mean and stuff.
Yeah.
And so the fellas said, Clyde, why don't you teach the class? So I started teaching the Sunday school at 11 years old with the guys that I knew in the neighborhood right up until I went to college.
That's amazing. So things have
then,
changed.
I wind up, like in 2000, going to visit some brothers who were at a church, and I saw an old model laying on the floor. I said, y'all trying to build a church? And they said, yeah. And something just popped out of my mouth and said, I'll help you.
Yeah.
And so right now, we started with $60,000 in the treasury. We built a $3.1 million church.
Yep.
And I got people to donate. I got people. We even had a guy that flew all the way from L.A., and he flew in his own private plane to Fairfield, California, Napa.
Yep.
And we had him to come over to his church, and he said, I'll give you guys $60,000.
Wow.
And then the members that donated $400,000, and next thing you know, all of this thing just mushroomed. And this was after we were turned down by 4 banks.
So you counted on your resources instead of the banks.
I was sitting at this table in my desk in my man cave.
Yeah.
And the third bank said, we can't finance the church.
Wow.
And I said, Lord, what are we going to do? And something said to me, build half of it.
Yeah.
So I called the guy in Napa, Roseville, and I said, what about if we build half of it? Can we get the money for that? He said, that might work.
Yep.
So we could build half of it by building just the roof and the sides with the windows in.
Wow.
And from that, more money came in, and a black finance group down in Atlanta gave us a loan.
Yeah.
And that's how we got the money when we didn't know we were going to get it. But it was just amazing that everything we needed, God took care of it.
Isn't that something? I love that you said that, Clyde. Again, talking to Clyde Jones, NBA, played Negro League baseball, first African-American to pitch at Central Missouri State. And then also, when you're dealing with the Pacific Fleet, that's so impressive because oftentimes, Clyde, people talk about whether they want equal opportunities, affirmative action, where white people get it through cronyism or nepotism, or Joe calling Dave and Dave calling Bill and Bill calling Steve, and then they get a job without giving interviews. It's a good old boy network. But can you expound to young people? You said you called on God, like Ephesians 3:20, and everything came together. Clyde, expound on that, please.
Yeah, it's like when we were building the church in Fairfield, and the contractor, who was a minister, he came up to me and he said, what are we going to do about the leveling the land and putting in the sewer lines and all that? I said, I don't know, but we just pray on it.
Yeah.
The next day, another guy came. His name was Christian.
Yeah.
He was on Highway 80 putting in some stuff for the city, for the state of California.
Yep.
And he came down to me. He said, we need to put our tractor somewhere while we're working on the freeway out here.
Wow.
Can we, anything we can do? And I said, yeah, you could level our land and put in the sewer. He said, no problem. I said, is there a cost? He said, no, we'll do it for free because we can do right it off.
Yeah.
And then the minister of contract, he said, I can't believe this. You know, we getting all this stuff done.
Yeah.
And
God is able.
We're saving us over $150,000.
Wow.
And it was just asking the guy, can you do this for us?
You have not because you ask not.
But the thing of it is, young and old, one of the things that we don't do enough of is the Bible say, ask and you shall reap, but we don't ask.
Matthew 7:7, yeah. I've been working on that with a partner of mine about praying, like who's the ark in your life? A lot of African Americans grew up with the Spirit of God, being taught God. My father was also a Baptist minister. My mother had me growing up in the church. My father was an Air Force pilot. I want to ask you, Clyde, in the closing moments of our program, number one, I appreciate you. Anyone around the world, especially young black men going up to college, I want you to keep in mind, Mr. Clyde Jones, MBA Engineering, Berkeley, Baseball Hall of Fame, Roy Hobbs Men's Baseball National, Omega Fraternity member, produced the first African-American astronaut, the first graduate of Tuskegee was an Omega, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, they're also Omegas. But again, we're talking to Clyde on Big C Sports Podcast, which is actually nominated for an Espy'S by Disney's Corporation, Zariah Matthews. And I'm talking to Clyde, one of the most brilliant men that ever walked the planet, maybe outside of, I won't say more than Noah or Moses. Would that be fair enough, Clyde? But you have your own arc, and I want to get your thoughts before we close out today, Clyde. On the National Tuskegee Foundation gives out 40 scholarships per year, the Los Angeles chapter, and your goal is to empower black professionals to advance in this system. You talked about the church you helped build in Fairfield, California, and things about the U.S. Constitutional, about going back to Nasara law, 209 countries under the Paris Agreement. There's so many things that you bring to the table more than, Charlton, look how big, strong, and fast this guy is. Talk if you can about the scholarships that are given out by your organization, Clyde. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, the L.A. chapter, we have a brother that runs it down there, and he actually goes to the, he's paid a six-figure income to go out and find these different stars.
Yeah.
And bring them into, once a year they hold an event down there, and these people just donate money.
Yeah.
And we try to make sure that the LA chapter can bring in enough money for 40 scholarships a year.
Yeah.
And over the last 10 years, we've been successful at doing that. I sit on the national board for the foundation, for the national.
Yep.
And we get the information so that we can spread it out. But people need to go, young individuals, it's not only for scholarships, it could be a trade school.
Yeah.
But and you don't have to be a pilot, you don't have to be a military person, but just go online to the Tuskegee Airmen Scholarship Fund and apply at one of the local high schools, and they'll send it in.
Wow.
But it's a good program that a whole lot of people don't know about, and we got all of these notoriety people from Hollywood and everything who willfully donate money because they need tax write-off.
Yeah, they need tax write-off. We all could use tax write-off. Clyde, I want to ask you in the last closing moments before we come up on the Big C pause, because our show is real. I do my show. I produce it. I host it. I do the editing. I do the sound work. I do the research. I do all that stuff. I do it as a one-man crew, kind of like a fighter pilot. Like my father was in Air Force, and he worked on fighter planes, and he also flew them. Give me, if you can, I'm not sending you anything to embellish, but if you can tell people, because we are you know, Espy nominated. What do you think about Charlton? And you know what I've been doing in this broadcast business for many, many moons. Just tell the world without prompting you, giving you any script. Give me maybe a 30, 60 second on Charlton and why more people should follow Big C Sports based on who you are and who I am. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just think that your Christian spirit and the information you put out, and you're reaching out to people who normally don't, that are in sports and who are also figures of the community who have knowledge and have skills to help others and have not been contacted.
Yeah.
Our black history and our black elements in this society are deep, and we don't hear about them.
Yeah.
And your program is a way of getting that information out so you can hear something other than mainstream America.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand there are so many lies that are put out there against, and we hear that on mainstream, but we don't hear the truth.
Amen to that. Like I tell all people, all life came from the African continent. They say from the womb of a black woman, Dr. Leakey and Gregor Mendel. And it doesn't mean that we're any better, but we're definitely not worse than anybody because we have the dominant gene. And people should be proud of that. Ancestry 1, 2, 3, whatever those things are, that's fine. But if people realize that we all come from the same source, maybe they would respect the black root a little bit better, and we would not be so massively incarcerated or just fawned over because we wear a uniform. And that's what I appreciate about you, Clyde. As we close, I do want to give you a chance. You know, we have this, I know you're a baseball player. So we're in the World Series. It's Game 7 World Series. We're at the bottom of the ninth. We are only up. We're only up 9-8. And the bases are loaded. They're going to bring in Clyde Jones. Clyde, the pitch. Hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Tell me, did you strike him out or did you give up the home run, Clyde? You go right ahead and close out the game.
No, what I did and when I played in the World Series, I have a World Series ring from Fort Myers, Florida, playing in 2012.
Yeah.
And I told one of the players who was from the Napa area, I said, look, John, I said, Walt Bogan, he used to play with the Mets, and he's in Vallejo, and I said, we need a double, Bogan, so we can win this game. He came up to bat and bam, he hit a double, and we wound up winning the game like 7-5.
Well, that's amazing, Clyde. I really appreciate you. I know you're one of the most admired men when people get to know you. Hopefully, because of Big C Sports as Emmy nominated, they'll hear more about the great, Clyde Jones, NBA. Talked about your affiliation with the Omega Fraternity. You talked about brought in out of the Omegas the first black astronaut, the first graduate from Tuskegee with the Omega. That's important, Clyde. I want to do more. I want to do more if I can down the road with you to just edify some things that people don't know. In closing, is there anything that we did not miss? And again, if I did all of your accolades, we'd be around for about 7 days. If God created the world in 6 days, it takes 7 days to give you accolades. Is there anything else you want to put out to the universe about what you're working on and what you want to see happen to young people? Go right ahead, sir.
Well, I've worked as a financial advisor for First Command Financial Planning, and I've done independent pension planning for others. So it's very important that in America, we have not been able to get grasp of what the financial world is really working and how it works. And that's something I think is important and information we need to get out.
Yeah.
We've been athletes, and the athletes, we do this and we win in that.
Yep.
But we need to get into the financial side of things and understanding and getting our licenses and working in that area.
That's very well. You and I both work in insurance and mortgage for myself as well as broadcast. You notice in the last minute, Clyde, how oftentimes if an athlete signs a $200 million contract, they're plastered all over the world. They're plastered all over the media. That's a distraction. You just talked about people can get a scholarship and they don't have to be an athlete. They don't have to be a world-class athlete. There's so many things that are more important than signing that $200 million contract. It's called working for yourself, having the power to make sure you control your own destiny. It doesn't mean it's easy, but if we can close, I want you to close out with your mission statement for young people who can follow what you've just talked about, Clyde. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, my mission statement to young people is to get around some older folks and learn what they're not just sitting around. They got a lot of knowledge. You need to get around and talk to some of the older folks. And don't be scared to talk to them and get information from them and let people know I need to learn some stuff. Well, tell me what I need to know.
Yeah. Tell me what I need to know. It's all fair in love and war. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. The great Clyde Jones, Mr. Clyde Jones, MBA engineering out of Berkeley. Really appreciate him, part of the Omegas. Also part of what's so impressive is that you wrote the first affirmative action plan for the United States Pacific Fleet. That's absolutely amazing. I wish you nothing but the best. I hope that God keeps shining on you the way he always have. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.
Okay, and I want to recognize my lovely wife, Beverly Jones. She's here sitting with me.
God bless you and Beverly. Have a super fantastic day, Clyde.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps all over the world you can follow Big C Sports, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. Today's Tuesday, August 10th. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon and Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV. You'll be sitting there looking at us so picture. You heard from Mr. Clyde Jones, MBA engineering, also part of Omega Fraternity, Roy Hall of Fame, baseball player, also played in the Negro League. I mean, the man is just a walking encyclopedia, very intelligent, well-read. He's not some guy that you could call out of his name because he knows who he is, and that's what I love to say to other young African-American kids and kids all over of all ethnic backgrounds, but particularly for African-Americans. And I really appreciate Clyde Jones coming on the show. And I appreciate Beverly letting them come on. Make sure you keep eating right, Clyde. Don't go out and eat some of that pig feet because Beverly's watching. Make sure it's salmon. Salmon only, Clyde, if that makes sense to you. It's all fair level war. The pitch. Hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend, the great Tony Montana. Today's Major League Baseball schedule. All fair and love and war. The Los Angeles Angels at the Toronto Raptors. When you think about the Toronto Blue Jays, I think there's a lot of great baseball going on. The girls love their long ball. Men love to hit the deep. When you look at pitching on the mound for the Toronto, they have a good old boy by the name of Steve Metz, and that good old boy has a chance to improve his record on the day. But the guy that people tune in to see is the great Shohei Ohtani. He really is, in my opinion, up for Player of the Year in Major League Baseball. Keep an eye on Shohei Ohtani. Also, another game that was delayed, that's Detroit at Baltimore. I want to take you out to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, where they also boo Santa Claus, all fair level war. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend, the great Al Pacino and Scarface Tony Montana. The LA Dodgers, defending world champion Los Angeles Dodgers, they're on the road in Philadelphia, and pitching for Philadelphia is Aaron Nola. That good old boy is going to try to do his thing. And then for the Dodgers, you have A.J. Pollock. The Dodgers are loaded. They're a team that can win at home, Chavez Ravine. They're also a team that can win on the road. So keep in mind what the Dodgers are trying to do to repeat as World Series champions. I still think the San Francisco Giants will win the World Series this year. At least that's my opinion. Because I want free World Series tickets or at least media passes. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends, St. Louis Cardinals at the Pittsburgh Pirates. And on the mound pitching for the Pirates is Steven Brault. That good boy can do his thing. And then J.A. Happ is actually on the mound for St. Louis. Keep in mind, these good old boys can really throw the ball, really appreciate how Major League Baseball is part of the Big C Sports podcast. In fact, the Espy nominated Big C Sports podcast. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends. The women love the long ball, and men love to hit deep. All fair and level war. Tampa Bay Rays at the Boston Red Sox. Pitching for them good old boys in Boston, Eduardo Rodriguez. He's on the mound. And then you also want to pay attention when he's at bat, Austin Meadows. What a great game. I don't give out what happened in the game because a lot of good old boys want to go home and record things on their DVR. Another great game. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, run. Say hello to my little friends, the great Al Pacino, Big C Sports. SB nominated Big C Sports, paying homage to the great Al Pacino. the Washington Nationals at the New York Mets. And then pitching for Washington is Paulo Espino, and don't really have, actually it's going to be Brandon Nimmo. Pay attention to him when he's at bat. That good boy can hit deep. It's all fair in 11 WAR for the Mets. The Mets don't have Jacob deGrom, so they're holding on. They're trying to hang on to the side of the Empire State Building the same way King Kong held on to the Empire State Building back in the day, and he did not fall down. It's all fair in 11 WAR. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. The Oakland A's are on the road at the Cleveland Guardians. I know it's still called the Indians, but I love the name Cleveland Guardians. Pitching is Sean Mania for Oakland. That good old boy is doing his thing this year. At bat, Harold Ramirez. Pay attention when Harold Ramirez is up to bat. I don't give away anything that my prop betting friends tell me to give away. I only give out a little bit, like Mrs. Fields' cookie. They don't give you the whole cookie. They only give you a sample of the cookie. Just like when you love somebody, you don't give them a big tongue kiss at first. You give them a peck on the cheek, and then it's up to whatever you want to do with your tongue. It's all fair and level word. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. Man, the Cincinnati Reds at the Atlanta Braves, pitching Sonny Gray on the mound, doing his thing for the Reds. And then think about when he's up to bat, Austin Riley, he's doing his thing. I really appreciate Major League Baseball and bringing it to you, the Big C sports style, as typewriters are going up all over this country, as people love the long ball. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. I'm sure Clyde Jones has hit a couple of balls out of the ballpark. He said he struck out 11 most games, or when he caught it down to 10, but he was doing his thing in baseball. The Milwaukee Brewers, this good old boys are 34-19 on the road. The Cubs are at home, but they're only 31-24, not bad. This is a great series for the Midwest part of the country. Pitching, when you think about it for the Brewers, Aaron Ashby, that good old boy can do his thing. And then Alec Mills has a 4.41 ERA, so he's not a Jedi Knight, but 4.41 ERA is still good, and keep an eye on that game. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! The Colorado Rockies, they are on the road at the Houston Astros, and there are a lot of cameras. A lot of cameras going up, kind of blinding people in the dugout. I don't know what all those cameras are for in Houston, but they say if you're in Texas, you're not cheating, you're not trying. It's all fair and 11 WAR. The Rockies are only 13-40 on the road. The Astros are 35-23 when they're at home. You make the call. Pitching for the road team is John Gray. He has a 3.75 ERA. And then the home team pitching is Jake Odorizzi. So keep that in mind for the Astros. One of the games with the great Tony La Russa. I love watching what the Chicago White Sox are doing. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. The girls love the long ball, and men love to hit deep. All fair and level work. The Chicago White Sox, they're on the road at the Minnesota Twins. The White Sox are 29-26 on the road. The Twins are only 24-31 at home. The great Dallas Keuchel is pitching, and for the White Sox on the home, you have Griffin Jacks is pitching. Keuchel has a 4.44 ERA, not necessarily John Knight territory, but the boy can do his thing on the mound, throwing about 95-mile-per-hour fastball. Another great game they might want to see, the New York Yankees on the road at Kansas City, Missouri. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. The Yankees, yes, the Yankees. I don't know if they're going to win this game, but they are making some stride. They're 30-25 on the road. The Royals are 28-26 at home, so anything goes. But I like the way the Yankees have been playing of late. That's a team that's making some noise in the American League. On the mound for the Yankees is Nestor Cortez Jr. He has a 2.15 ERA. That's a Jedi Knight. He was trained by the great Obi-Wan Kenobi long ago in a galaxy far, far away. The home pitcher is Daniel Lynch. That good boy's ERA is only 6. So someone's going to get hit out of the park. Hit deep. And you make the call. I like the guy that has a lower ERA, just like the great Clyde Jones had the lower ERA back in the day. I love baseball, and you should love it too. You don't have to be good at it. Just like kissing, you don't have to be good at kissing to love it. It's all fair and 11 WAR. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend, the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're 14-34. on the road. They're playing the first place San Francisco Giants, home of the Say Hey Kid, home of the home run king Barry Bonds, home of the media pass for the World Series for Big C Sports. The Giants are 35-17 at home. They have the league's best record at 71-41. Diamondbacks are 35-78. Think about the pitcher away for the Diamondbacks. Zach Gallen has a 4.62 ERA. Alex Wood pitching for the first place San Francisco Giants, a 4.03 ERA. You make the call. He's a Jedi Knight, and they're playing at Oracle Ballpark, beautiful downtown San Francisco. Can't wait to see what happens in that game. I'm looking for the Giants to get back. The Giants won the pennant! The Giants won the pennant! The Giants won the pennant! My father's favorite pitcher for the Giants, the great Juan Marichal. He also loved the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays. And of course, everybody loves hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend, the home run king, the great Barry Bonds. I really love what the Giants are doing in Major League Baseball with the best record in the league and tearing up the National League West. The Dodgers are in their jet streams of the San Francisco Giants. The only thing that can spoil it for the Giants, when you're eating French fries, they've trained those seagulls to come in and give you ketchup and mustard. If that makes sense to you, be careful what kind of mustard you get as the typewriters are going off in the San Francisco Chronicle. The pitch, hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend, the Toronto Blue Jays, taking on the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. All fair and level war. I mean, I'm telling you, there's so much going on in the world of baseball. The Angels are 30-26 at home. Away, the Blue Jays are 29-26. The pitch-up is Ross Stripling. He's a 4.43 ERA. He's a Jedi Knight. We're home for the Angels. You want to see a Jedi Knight pitch? Jose Suarez, 3.60 ERA. He was trained by the great Obi-Wan Kenobi of Star Wars. That good boy can throw strikeouts, and you need to have strikeouts. But the great Shohei Ohtani, he's the only thing that made a mouse in Disneyland second seat, like second choice. When people go to LA, usually they go to Disneyland to see that Mickey Mouse. Most people, when they see a mouse, they try to exterminate it. When they see a 6-foot mouse, they go, get out! But with Disneyland, people go to see Mickey Mouse, but more people now, they want to see the great Shohei Ohtani do his thing. All fair and level war. The Rangers at the Mariners, the pitch, hit deep, center field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. The Texas Rangers come to town. They're only 13-43 on the road. The Mariners are 33-23 at home. At away, the pitcher is Kobe Alec, 5.07 ERA. At home, Logan Gilbert has a 4.14 ERA. So he's a Jedi Knight doing his thing. Really looking forward to that. Big C Sports, Emmy nominated. Check out this game. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. The Miami Marlins are 20-39 away. The San Diego Padres are 39-20 at home. You make the call. The great pitcher, Braxton Garrett, has a 3.58 ERA for the Marlins, doing his thing. But not so fast, my friend. Not so fast, my friend. The pitcher for the home team, San Diego Padres, Craig Stemmen, that good boy is a 2.71 ERA. Yes, he is a gunslinger. He's a Jedi Knight trained by the great Obi-Wan Kenobi. As we go to the Windy City, today's game, Big C Sports Style, Emmy-nominated Big C Sports Podcast, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Brewers, the pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. In the Windy City, the Chicago White Sox, Freddie Peralta on the mound for Milwaukee. He's a good old boy. On the mound also for the Cubs, Justin Steele. I don't give out scores, but I love telling you how the good old boys hit deep. The girls love long ball, and men love to hit deep. That's Big C Sports bringing to your baseball schedule today. Really appreciate all the great athletes. Really appreciate the great Mr. NBA Clyde Jones Sr., part of one of the greatest lineages of the Omega fraternities in the country, played Negro League Baseball, wrote the affirmative action plan for the Pacific Fleet, a military veteran. We always pay homage to our military veteran. All fair and level war. I want to take you over to Tokyo, Japan, as Big C Sports is being followed by many Olympic champions, the great August Wesley Capaverde and August Anthony Wesley Jr. were on Big C Sports as the Olympics kicked off. We also hosted the 2021 NBA All-Star Draft out of the Brooklyn City, Barclays Center in Brooklyn with the great DC Lyras. But back to Tokyo, Japan. The Olympic medal count, the United States, we're number one. We're number one. USA, USA, all that jazz. The medal count so far. And again, there's a time delay. United States with 39 gold medals, followed by China with 38 gold medals. Japan, 27 gold medals as the host country. Great Britain, 22 gold medals. We have Australia has 17 gold medals. Netherlands has 10. France has 10 gold medals, followed by Germany and Italy with 10. Canada, oh, Canada, our home and native land. They have 7 gold medals. Brazil also follows Big C Sports. They have 7 gold medals. New Zealand, they follow Big C Sports podcast. They have 7 gold medals. Cuba, I don't know if Cuba's following Big C Sports, but they have gold medals. And Hungary has 6 gold medals. They also follow Big C Sports. Speaking of hungry, I'm hungry. I'm hungry for the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. I'm going to take what's called the Big C Pulse, also known as the Big C Timeout. Having a great day in Northern California with the great Clyde Jones, senior NBA, good old boy, very knowledgeable, erudite man. Really appreciate Clyde and edification from Clyde of Charlton with Big C Sports, SP nominated Big C Sports. We're going to take what's called the Big C Pulse in the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, former California governor. I'll be back.
I'm Tom Bodette from Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Surprisingly great rates, we gave this drone surprisingly great leads.
Hey neighbors, when you get hard to file, State Farm has to switch it up style. Great rates save you cash, so if you come down with us, you get your coins up. Oh, now you know you can save that dough, and you're covered on your ride and your home. For great service on the low, then call up State Farm. It's time to switch it up.
Like a good one. State Farm is there.
We don't think so. RexMD has FDA-approved generic Viagra medication of that little blue pill starting at just $2. Why pay huge pharmacy prices when you can get the same results for a fraction of the cost? Give your bank account a break. Just fill out a brief survey, and if appropriate, you'll get a starter pack prescription of industry-leading generic Viagra medication. Just call 800-734-8237. We've helped over 100,000 men with their sex lives and with getting prescription medications direct. Your consultation is free, there's no doctor office visits, and your shipping is always free. Get your starter pack now. Call 800-734-8237. That's 800-734-8237.
Credit card. You can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now.
All right, we're back from the Big C Pulse, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, and I really do appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon and Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love bringing back to you Big C Sports. SP nominated Big C Sports through Disney Corporation. Really appreciate it. There's some college football going on. A lot of good old boys are talking about the top football players for college football, who's the best at throwing the football down the field, hoping that they can find a way to get more touchdowns, home runs, and all that stuff, three-point plays. That's what the football season is all about. I want to talk about some of the top quarterbacks in the world of college football, and everybody has their own thoughts about it. We just have the great Clyde Jones, NBA, and the good old man has a lot of smarts, intelligence, education is so important. Talked about the Omegas and how they do everything they can to bring education into the world of young African-American athletes, and all people for that matter, but want to make sure that they really understand there's a chance to grow, and there's a chance to grow big in the world of college sports. It is not just about who has the biggest football team or the biggest offensive line or who's going to win a national championship. We just want to take some time to honor those young men that are going to go out and play football and talk about some of the great players and what they can do. It's all fair in love and war. It's all fair in love and war. Everybody loves college football. We're 100,000 fans on hand. They have the North Carolina Tar Heels, Sam Howell. He's considered one of the top quarterbacks in the country. We have up to the line of scrimmage. There's 4 wideouts, a 5-man front. He's in the I-set formation, turns around, takes the handoff, rolls back, rolling to his right, throws downfield. It is caught for the touchdown, North Carolina. He hits Hobbs on the play. You think about what people like most about Sam Howell, North Carolina quarterback. Think about this. He throws the deep ball as well as anybody. He's able to scramble, keeps his eyes downfield, able to do what he likes. He reminds me a lot of what happened to players like Vince Young, who set the Rose Bowl on fire against Michigan and also USC. He's not as tall, but he's very spectacular, and I look forward to seeing him play some more college football this upcoming season. Also, we go to Norman, Oklahoma. They have a quarterback by the name of Spencer Rattler. And what I like most about Spencer Rattler, they have 4 wideouts, 5-man front, shotgun formation, the snap. He's rolling to his right, rolling, looks downfield. It is caught for the touchdown by Jones, 50 yards. The great Spencer Rattler doing his thing for the University of Oklahoma. What I like about him, he got benched the second quarter against Texas last year. In game number 4 as a starter for a team with a 1-2 record at the time. I remember when Rattler, when he shed his turnover woes, he became a game-changing quarterback and looked invincible in the next 7.5 games. Lincoln Riley has a great quarterback under center for Oklahoma. He reminds me somewhat of Baker Mayfield with a mixture of Jamil Holloway from back in the day when Barry Switzer coached the Oklahoma Sooners. I really look forward to seeing a lot of good boys put the ball deep in college football. Another great quarterback, one of the top guys in the country, just my opinion, Big C's thoughts. This good boy hails from the Southeastern Conference. At Ole Miss, his name is Matt Carroll. In front of 80,000 fans, they have 4 wideouts. There's a 5-man front by Alabama. It's shotgun formation. The snap, he's rolling to his left. He's rolling, he's looking, throws downfield, corner of the end zone, and it's caught for the touchdown by Gaines. And Ole Miss is on the scoreboard. You're going to hear more about that as that good old boy is going to show you what he does. What I like about him, you will never convince Coral that he isn't about to make a game-changing play. It doesn't matter if he throws 5 interceptions. The next one is always going for 6 points, and that's the attitude you got to have, especially if you're Ole Miss. But think about this. He averaged 10.2 yards per attempt. He also completed 71% of his passes. 71% of his passes in the SEC. Rushed for more yards than all but 7 Power 5 quarterbacks. That good boy can throw the ball deep. He's going to win some games for Ole Miss. It's not always Alabama. It's not always Georgia or Florida or LSU, Auburn. Ole Miss is a team, they're upset prone. I know they got knocked up by Cal Berkeley a couple of years ago down in the South, but they're a good team. There's another quarterback down at Coral Gables, Florida. His name is De'Aaron King. What I like about him, they played at Hard Rock Stadium in beautiful Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They call it Miami. We have a packed house, 80,000 on hand, 4 wideouts, 5-man front by Florida State. The snap, he's in the ISF formation. He's rolling to his right. He's rolling, he's looking, has a man downfield, and it is caught for the touchdown by Irvin. The Miami Hurricanes have scored again. That's the great De'Aaron King. What I like about De'Aaron King, 6 years, think about this, year 6 of King should be music for college football fans. Unless your team is facing the Hurricanes, who had led their first top 30 offense in 16 years. Rhett Lachey had a lot to do with that. But King is amazing. He can get out of the pocket. He can beat you with his feet. They're up against a tough team. They have Alabama to open the season. So you may not see just how good he is. But that good boy, he can get you a first down with his feet or with his arms throwing the ball through the air. I really love what we're going to see at the University of Miami. But they will get swamp beaten by University of Alabama. The Hurricane will not contain the elephant when the tide comes calling. All fair and level for. Number 5, we have what's called Death Valley. They have a quarterback that came out of St. John Bosco in Belle Clara, California, played in the Trinity League. His name is DJ Uyunglele. They won the National Football Championship for high school football teams. And Dabu Sweeney's built a juggernaut. He comes up to the line of scrimmage, shotgun formation. They have 4 wideouts, 2 to the far side, 2 to the near side. They have a 5-man front by Louisville. The snap, he's rolling to his right. Rolling, has a man downfield, throws it. It is caught for the touchdown by Marvin. 50 yards. The great DJ Uyunglele. you'll hear more about the great DJ Uyunglele. What I like most about him, as a freshman, they took Notre Dame to overtime in South Bend before they lost, but he was a freshman, and they took Notre Dame to overtime in South Bend. What I like about DJ Uyunglele, the fact that he's got a big arm, he has a cannon-form arm. There's a theme this year. The guys that showed a lot in 2020, a lot of sample size, looked the part against a top 15 defense on the road. I thought Uyunglele was brilliant, and you're not supposed to make throws like that as a true freshman. Again, he came in to back up the Heisman Trophy and the NFL's #1 pick in Trevor Lawrence. That's the only reason he didn't start as a true freshman at Clemson. Here's another kid that comes out of the Trinity League for the University of Georgia. His name is JT Daniels. He's also played at Mater Dei of Southern California in the same league, the Trinity League, as DJ Uyunglele. And then he went and left USC, went to Georgia. I think he thought it was easier to get a starting job at Georgia. Just my opinion. A lot of people feel the same. Packed house, 80,000 fans at Georgia. They have a 5-man front by Auburn. Georgia comes up to the line of scrimmage. They have 4 wideouts, I-set formation, the snap. Daniels rolling to his right, rolling, looks, throws downfield. It is caught for the touchdown by Marvin. Touchdown, Georgia. And Georgia has taken the lead. That's the great quarterback, JT Daniels. What I like about Daniels, when you think about what he is, had a small sample size, had 4 games of dominance. We also saw flashes of brilliance during his true freshman season at USC. Without a mid-season rival and an injury to rehab, Daniels set up well to become a long-time player and maybe in contention for National Gatorade Player of the Year when you think about what he did as high school junior. But this good old boy is going to be one of the top quarterbacks, in my opinion, in the SEC. He knows how to throw the ball downfield. Really like the way he plays. If you just keep in mind college football in the SEC, a lot of good old boys, they are throwing the football now. They are actually starting to implement a passing game like they've had for many moons out here in the Pac-12. There's another good quarterback. His name is Dylan Gabriel for the University of Central Florida. They come up to the line of scrimmage. They have 4 wideouts, 5-man front by Central Florida. And when I tell you, this is the program that's on the rise. Don't take for granted they're on the rise. 4 wideouts, 5-man front, rolling back to his right, rolling, looking, throws downfield. It is caught for the touchdown by McVay. Touchdown, Central Florida. Dylan Gabriel, this good old boy. You hear a lot of NFL scouts talk about him, who have more running responsibilities than Gus Malzahn's offense. This good old boy, 61 touchdown passes in 23 games. Should have plenty of opportunities to let it go. And a player that I really like on the national scene, plays for the University of Southern California Trojans. Okay, I don't have a white horse, but I'm trying to sing this song. 80,000 in the Coliseum. Keaton Slovis with the Trojans up to the line of scrimmage. 4 wideouts, 5-man front by UCLA. The snap, he's rolling to his right, rolling, looking, throws downfield. It is caught at the goal line and into the end zone for the touchdown by Jones. And USC has taken the lead. It's a great rival, the USC-UCLA cross-down rival. What I love about Keaton Slovis, when you think about it, he's absolutely amazing in the pocket. He can also throw the ball deep downfield, very accurate. There's a reason why USC went 5-1, even though it trailed in the fourth quarter. In many of those games, Slovis has that California cool in him, but he grew up in Arizona. Talking about someone who took the USC starting job from JT Daniels, and JT Daniels lost the starting job to Keaton Slovis, and JT Daniels was good enough to be the starting quarterback at Georgia. That tells you how good the Pac-12 is, no matter what national media says to you. I think USC will also be in running for the Pac-12 championship. All's fair in love and war. Just my thought on how college football will wind down this year. But I want to close out with one more player, also from California. Went to Mater Dei High School, Southern California, Santa Ana. Played for the great Bruce Rollinson in the Trinity League. Mater Dei won 2 of the last 4 high school national championships. Coming up to Bryant-Denny Stadium, sold out 102,000 in Alabama. Alabama taking on Auburn in the Iron Bowl. We have 4 wideouts, 5-man front by Auburn. The snap, Young rolling to his right, rolling, looking, throws deep to the corner of the end zone. It is caught by the touchdown, Alabama. It is Jones with the play, and you saw the reason that Bryce Young is everybody's can't-miss All-American. Not saying he's going to win the Heisman Trophy, but this kid, he's like Russell Wilson. Think about this. As high as you can put someone with 22 career pass attempts, based on limited sample size, last year combined with the spring game, it looks a lot like a former 5-star recruit and a multi-millionaire. I want to be a billionaire so freaking bad. He's not going to have pocket presence of a Mac Jones, but he's more athletic than Mac Jones. And Young is going to make highlight reels galore in Bill O'Brien's offense. Will anyone be surprised if he ends up as a Heisman Trophy winner? No. If he stays healthy, there's a potential for a 50-touchdown season because he's that talented. I love bringing you what we're doing with Big C Sports. I do my show impromptu. The reason we're up for it, Espy, I challenge everybody in the sports universe. Do your show with no teleprompter, no producer in your ear, no one telling you what to say. I do my editing. I do my research. I get information from my son Malcolm and sometimes Big C. Got the information on the great Luka Doncic as he's signed a big contract. The great Luka Doncic getting money hands over fist. I think that good boy signed a 5-year, $207 million contract. It's a 5-year extension for Dallas. So the Mavericks have everything they need to have a strong showing this year or coming up for the tip-off of the 2021 season. So I love what happens in the world of Big C Sports Podcast. No teleprompter. We do it impromptu. I just have the great NBA Clyde Jones Sr. The man's very brilliant. A military man, Omega Fraternity, and I love what he brings to offer to the table for African Americans. He wrote the first affirmative action plan for the Pacific Fleet. That's amazing. As an African American, you don't hear that on most programs. Top ranked at the Pentagon, top 1% of officers 1971 to 75, played Central Missouri State, first black pitcher at that university, first black person in engineering field at Shell Oil Company in Wood River, Illinois, Chapter 4 president of Travis Air Force Base in Northern California. On National Tuskegee Foundation, they give out 40 scholarships per year in Los Angeles, California chapter. His goal is to empower black professionals to advance in the system of the United States of capitalism. We know that sometimes the deck stacks against you, but you got to find a way to go forward. Also help build a church in Fairfield, California. There's so much going on in the world of sports. I really love bringing it to you on Big C Sports. Everybody has their own opinion on how they like it. We talk football, we talk basketball, we talk baseball in our Hit Deep segment, where even the mothership is doing Hit Deep. And you can Google it. You don't have to take my word for it, but they're following Big C Sports platform. But I tell every sponsor out there that's sponsoring 7-figure shows, as Big C Sports will sign that 7-figure contract in 2021. Compare my show to every show in the universe. No teleprompters, no script writers, no one doing your sound, no one doing your edit work. Let them do it on their own like I do. NFL football, it's all fair and level where Pittsburgh Steelers coach Mike Tomlin acknowledges T.J. Watt isn't practicing because of contract negotiations. NFL training camp update, Indy intrigue, Aaron Rodgers to sit, Sam Darnold struggles. I mean, that's just part of it. Drew Lock to start Denver Broncos preseason opener, but Coach Vic Fangio calls quarterback battle with Teddy Bridgewater even. I think Teddy Bridgewater should win that quarterback battle. It's all fair and level war. Houston, Texas, quarterback Deshaun Watson unlikely to play in the preseason opener. Green Bay Packers preseason to be Jordan Love's show as Aaron Rodgers, touchdown Aaron Rodgers, last year's NFL MVP will sit out. All fair and level war. And then Indianapolis coach Sam Ehlinger now splitting quarterback reps with Jacob Eason for the Indianapolis coach. It's all fair and level war. I really appreciate what's going on in the sports universe. And I hope that every person, as you're heading back to college, always be safe, wash your hands, and still practice social distancing. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young men rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? As my mama always says, there was a song back in the day that said, take your time, young man. And mama used to say, mama always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, and I really appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.